Today on Ask Darren, we are going to be servicing this chainsaw. Let's begin. Alright, today on Ask Darren, we're going to try to tune up a chainsaw that's been sitting for, I don't know, 5-6 years. It was given to me to see if I could revive it. I think it's a Poulan. So here's the chainsaw, and from the looks of it, and the smell of it, it seems like it's been sitting for a while. So it probably just has some stale gas in it. We'll clean the spark plug and take a look at what else is going on. It's pretty important that before the end of the season that you clean your saw or put some sort of stabilizer into your gas. So, geez, that thing's on there. What I want to do first is I want to just take the take and dump the gas. Golly, because I can smell that it's bad. So yeah, so I'm just going to dump this gasoline in there. Well, it's mix, so I keep all my mix at about 50%. So I'm just going to get all that bad gas out of there. And something just fell out. So this is some sort of weight or screen that keeps the saw going no matter what position you put it in. So that might be part of the problem. I'm gonna have to take this apart. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pop the top of it off. That way I can expose the carburetor and get to all that. So I'm gonna lock the bar, and then I'm gonna reposition my camera so we can have a close-up. All right, so there's 4 screws, and they're a Torx or screwdriver. All right, so I pulled the cover off, and for one, the air cleaner is pretty nasty. I'll probably just spray some brake clean on it and clean it for now just to get them up and going. So yeah, it just smells like really stale gas right now, but I'll just go ahead and check the spark plug, take the carb off, clean the carb, and see if I can find where that fuel line goes to make sure it's connected correctly. All right, as you see, I got a couple tools. It's a 3/4 for this particular spark plug. So you can see this spark plug is really dirty. So I'll sand it down, clean it up, make sure we have spark. So a good way to check spark, and if you're not careful, you can shock yourself pretty good. But if you put the spark plug back in here, and if you touch it to, and only hold this, not any metal. So if you touch it to here, it grounds itself. So when you pull, you can see that there's spark in there. Now I know I have spark, so that comes to my conclusion that this is probably just a fuel issue. So some of these carbs you have to be really careful about because they have a paper gasket. I have a bunch of gasket material sitting over there, so if I need to make a a new gasket, I can just make one. But usually if you're just very careful with taking it apart, it'll stay intact. So these Klein screwdrivers work pretty good on 1/4 inch drive. You can just use them for little stuff like this. Right here is one of my lines that goes down into the gas tank. It's probably a return line. And then there's another fat one that goes over to the primer ball. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and take this side cover off so I can look into it. Alright, so here's the spark plug, and you notice it's just nasty and dirty. So if you just take a piece of, this is probably like 220 grit sandpaper or emery cloth, or whatever you have at your house. Basically what I'm doing is I'm cleaning this up so it will actually get a better spark. So if you fold it over, you can stick it in and kind of rub it back and forth. If you have like a wire brush too, you could hit it with a wire brush. All right, so I put the spark plug back in. I haven't tightened it back up yet. They don't need to be super tight, so just a little tiny snug turn on it. All right, well, after a bunch of time and effort, I was able to get that up into there. It probably would have been easier to pull it out the top, but I did not want to damage the seals that were still good that go into the top of the gas tank. And luckily I had the same exact fuel line and was able to replace it with the same length. I actually found the hose that was inside there. It was just stuck to the bottom because of the mix that was in there before that turned to varnish, because this stuff will actually get thick and it'll actually gel up. So what I'm doing now is I am taking and I'm going to tighten the chain up. See how the teeth are pointed forward? That's what you want. If you put this chain on backwards, it won't cut for anything because the chain's running backwards, so it's hitting these dull spots in the back instead of the sharp spots in the front. So I'm just going to take this off and clean it up a little bit. and then we'll put her back together. And put some gas in it and see if we can get the fire up. So after taking this apart, you can see where the little oiler is. So there's a line that comes and it just seeps a little bit of oil onto your chain. So, and you can see I've already cleaned some of this, but look at how full all this is. Now, if you really want to get into an in-depth clean, you pop this C-clamp or C-clip off and take all this off and clean down in there. But I'm just going to blow it out and then reassemble it and get it in running order. So when you're adjusting your chain for the tension, you don't want it too tight, but you don't want it loose like it is right now. So on this one, it's actually it does it inside the bar. So you just got to make sure everything's lined up into the channel. So what I like doing is I like getting it to where it's tight and then snugging up your nuts here, but not like real tight, because you still want to be able to move this a little bit, which I am not able to do. So I'm going to loosen this up a little bit more. Now on steel chainsaws, they either have a nut in between these nuts, or a screw in between these nuts that you tighten it with, or they have one right here in the front. So I like my chains to have to where they, I don't know if you can hear that snap, but that's the way I like them. So it's tight, but it's not so tight that it can't run. And then you just tighten it back down. And then you always got to pay attention too when you're running a chainsaw that this stuff will loosen up over time, because when metal gets hot, it expands. So what I'm going to do now is put a little bit of mix in here, and hopefully, if all goes right, we'll be back up and running. So you don't really want to, hold on, buddy. You don't really want to drop start these. It's very dangerous, because if you let go of it, it can come down and hit your leg. And I do suggest wearing a full helmet and protective leggings. Step back, buddy. Let me start this. Well, there you have it. It's up and running. I hope you can take some of this information and apply it to a chainsaw or a weed eater that you're working on. Thanks for watching. Please leave me some comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe this video if you found it useful.